You see these bags? Do you see these bags? You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because I can't sleep because these books. I am telling you, these books will give you nightmares. So what did I do to get this list of Halloween books so I can just scare myself senseless this Halloween? These specific books are one of three things. They are either classic, scary horror novels that I've never read before. They are horror novels written by some of my favorite writers that I have yet to read. Or lastly, the reviews were so insanely good that there was no way that I wasn't going to pick up the book and see what people were talking about. So let's look at my October to be read list in anticipation of Halloween. Now I will tell you, I have already started one of these books. It will be the first book I show you. And it scared me. There are no spoilers in this review. I am not going to be telling you about what happens, why you should be. I have not read the books to spoil them, and the reviews that I picked were definitely no spoilers. They might give you a feel for the book, but they're not going to spoil any big plot elements. Let's get to the list. The first book, and the one that I have been reading, is Stephen King's Bag of Bones. So far, it is just super incredible. I absolutely love this book. If you look at the Amazon reviews, he has a 4.5 star rating out of 5 stars and 1,433 reviews. So if you are almost at 5 stars and you've got over 1,000 reviews, it's a good book. So far, it's been a very slow creep to what I know is going to be an amazing horror novel. There's a lot more love than I expected to see, but I am so happy with it. So I'm gonna hop over to my computer real quick and I'm gonna pick out like 2 reviews that I feel like really reflected the book well. This first review is a little long, so don't mind me. I'm just looking at my computer to read it. It is by Mike Reynolds, and it says, "One of the best by one of the best." And this was March 1st, 2020, so it's a recent review. And he said, "Sure, I liked Stephen King before this book. It, The Stand, The Shining, the Bill Hodges trilogy, Outsider, The Institute are all favorites of mine. If you aren't a King fan or you haven't figured it out yet, the reason why so many of his books resonate with so many people isn't the horror, it's the heart. This book is loaded with heart. A man who is haunted by grief, loneliness, and depression due to the sudden loss of his wife and the impending loss of his writing career is also haunted by something supernatural. Why is this haunting happening? What will stop it? The main character, a realistically flawed and very likable character, meets a beautiful young woman and her daughter who are both in danger. Can he help them? Can he love again? Can he resurrect his career and purpose in life? King is truly a master of language, a master of heart, and a master of creative horror. He weaves all of these together in this story. The result is a hauntingly beautiful experience. Definitely one of my favorite King books. I've read a ton of Stephen King and I'm really excited about this book. So far, awesome. Alright, so my next book is called Mapping the Interior. So a Kindle customer said, "I am not going to sleep tonight." This novella is Stephen Graham Jones at his deepest interior, full of love, grace, tragedy, and pain, all of them carried in the blood from generation to generation through the broken hearts and lives of a family. I'm tearing up again. The deepest horror in Jones's stories is that you know them and you know they're true. They're true. I don't even know if I'm really gonna be reading this book. I cannot handle books, movies, stories, nothing scary revolving around pregnancy. I personally struggled with postpartum I struggled with pregnancy the whole way through. It was very insane. And so anything that kind of brings me back into that mindset, it really digs at me. It really gets under my skin. And the point of this is to be scared, right? So I could not make this list without adding something that would just personally terrify me. But now that it's here, I think I'm gonna be too chicken to actually read it. We'll see. So the one I'm talking about is Rosemary's Baby. They made a movie out of it. And supposedly it's supposed to be even better than the movie, and the movie is supposed to be really good. I haven't seen the movie, so I'm really excited to dig into this specific book. So this particular book isn't quite as reviewed as Stephen King's book. It is still 4.5 stars out of 5 with 621 people that reviewed it. So the first review says, "I could not for a second put this book down. What a story! Now I see why it's a well-known horror classic and why it's so highly rated. I wish I would have read it sooner. I felt myself panicking for Rosemary way before she even panicked for herself. I had no prior knowledge to the book and could see that devil's work was being done just from the way she mentioned sulfur after her dream and not being able to have salt. I'm not sure how I knew, but I just did. I literally sat with my hands on my mouth at times in horror after reading about all of the terrible things she was going through. In the room, when she was defenseless in the corner, I literally felt my blood boiling within me. And I have never been pregnant or know what it's like to love something inside of you. The description and the emotions made me feel as though I had and I cared about the baby just as much as she did. What a shocker. I won't give too much away and I will stop soon, but I must say that the ending left me feeling very disturbed and uncomfortable. It was marvelous. Everything I want in a good book that is going to scare me." All right, so for this next one, again, I think it's gonna absolutely terrify me. I will read this book though. I don't think it'll bother me as much as like the Rosemary Baby one, but I saw the movie and it was horrifying. I cannot believe some of the comments saying that the book could even be more terrifying than the actual movie. So of course I had to add it to the list. So this book is a well-known favorite called The Excorcist. An experience you will never forget. So this is one of the most popular books on the list. It has over 1,600 reviews and it is rated above a 4.5 star book, which means it has got to be incredible. It's not as big as I expected it to be. I mean, it's under 400 pages. Yeah, it's under 400 pages, so it's not as big as I expected it to be. But I have a feeling that it is going to make me have nightmares. So to read a few reviews from the computer. So again, it was really important when I was looking at this. I wasn't too sure because I've seen the movie before and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to like put the time into reading the book. So I looked for reviews specifically saying, "Miss T, the film is good, but the book is so much better. A horror story that continues to stand the test of time, even if you've seen the film and know the plot. This book is a terrifyingly good read, taking you into dark areas of satanic practice and religion. The characters are so well defined. Lieutenant Kinderman in particular has a gem of a role as the police officer who likes to portray an image of bumbling, but is completely on the ball." And then there's Reagan. Brilliant. This particular book is from an author I love and adore, but I have never read this story from her. This is Anne Rice's Witching Hour. It is a big old book. Let's see. It is 1,038 pages. Holy smokes. Alright, so I'm going to take a look at the computer and read some reviews real quick. This book is absolutely amazing. I thought the Vampire Chronicles were good, and don't get me wrong, I do love them. But the Mayfair family and their long chaotic history is simply amazing. I was so enthralled with the history of how the family came into being, starting in Scotland and ending up on the First Street in NOLA. This is, for those of you that don't know, that's New Orleans. This is also a story about strong women, matriarchs, magic, and sex. There is a historical feel to it as well as a horror and sci-fi feel. From the moment I began reading the vivid descriptions of the architecture of the Garden District homes, I had to get on Google Maps to see for myself. And the women of each generation are each amazing in their own right. This is one of my favorite books, and I strongly recommend it. So I live in the South, so it is nothing odd to go to New Orleans. I absolutely love New Orleans. It has a feel unlike any other part of the United States. As someone that has traveled there more than 10 times, I would love to see how this book really relays New Orleans. Okay, so the next book is a classic. This is your good old haunted house story, The Haunting of Hill House. It is fairly short, under 200 pages, so this is a good 1-2-nighter. And it also has a tag saying that it's the inspiration for a Netflix movie or a Netflix series. I haven't seen it on Netflix, but I read more than I watch TV, so that's not surprising. Let's get to the reviews. Oh, so this is 4.3 stars, and it has over 3,000 reviews on Amazon. The first review from the Horror Lover says it is an excellent gothic horror. The Haunting of Hill House is a beautiful example of gothic horror genre. Its lyrical passages and descriptiveness makes it easy to envision everything as it happens. Shirley Jackson understood that the most important aspect of gothic horror is the deep examination of a character's inner demons. I'm gonna like this one. In this book, we meet several characters, including one who is clearly an awful person. But Eleanor is sympathetic, especially as the house begins to exert its force over her. Another important theme in this book is the bullying nature that often comes out when people are faced with someone who is different. Although we never know for sure exactly what events were real versus imagined, enough happens to split the group up much more quickly than anticipated. Some have said that this story is slow-moving, boring, and that nothing happens. That is definitely not true. Hill House sets a spooky ambience for the moment that the first character sees it, and Jackson builds the tension steadily from there. This isn't a gory book, nor are there ghosts jumping out at the reader with each turn of the page. Instead, this is a nuanced look at how people react to stressful situations. After all, what is more terrifying than our own demons? Next is the highest rated and most rated book. It comes in at 4.7 stars, and it has over 4,000 reviews on Amazon. This is going to be Dean Koontz's Watchers. So I am a fan of Dean Koontz, and I have not read The Watchers. It has been something that is on my to-do list for years now. Pretty thick book. We are looking at just over 600 pages, so it is an investment. Let's see what some of the reviews say. So Mr. Musashi says, "This is the first Dean Koontz book I've ever read, and I love it. After reading an incredibly poor thriller novel from an upcoming author, won't name it, I needed to get the bad taste out of my mouth. I never read Dean Koontz's novel, but knew he was meant to be pretty good at what he does. I bought this book totally on a whim, didn't even read the description or know a thing about it, just picked it at random. I think not knowing what the book was about made me love it even more. Everything about this book is beautifully masterful, and I can see why this is his most celebrated work. It's an enthralling and meticulously paced story with well-developed characters brimming with life, moving and engrossing prose, and a heart-thumping climax that had me sweating in the bed. Some parts of this book even made me tearful. I had completely reached a state of hypnosis, whereby the words on the page melted away and I was no longer reading a novel, but in the world of Watchers. The plot is so well handled from the perspective of multiple characters. At first, you have no clue where it's going for the first quarter. Even more exciting when you know nothing about the plot. And it all melds together so well and congruently. All in all, this is an excellent story of love, adventure, and Labradors.
Oh, I'm so excited!
Alright, last is another classic that I am ashamed to actually admit that I have never read. Now here's the thing, I don't dig like zombies and vampires and werewolves, just not my thing, I'll be honest with you. But to actually say that I'm an avid reader and I have never read Dracula is embarrassing. This is a little over 300 pages, fairly short. It has under 300 reviews, but it is 4.5 stars, which surprised me. I kind of didn't expect it to be that popular. Or I expected it to be way more reviews, but ranked lesser. I just did, I don't know why. Alright, so the review says, incredible. I've always known Dracula and vampires since I was a little boy. This is the first time I've been able to read the story. While I wasn't sure what to expect, I thought the novel would be somewhat dated and stuffy due to the amount of time that has passed since its original writing. I was not disappointed with this titan of the genre. Stoker's novel remains triumphant 122 years after its author penned the thriller. The description of the world in which the monster resides still brings both terror and fascination to the reader. I enjoyed the author's endearing characters, the way in which he masterfully weaves multiple perspectives together in a single narrative, and his mystical descriptions of the supernatural powers and workings of vampire kind. I was impressed with the level of depth given to the Count, and it left me craving to learn more about him. In all, I'm pleased and spellbound by Stoker's novel, and I'm thrilled that the cornerstone of vampire lore still reigns supreme. Awesome. I'm stoked. And really weird fact, this book smells really good, and I don't know why. Alright everyone, that is everything I have for the books. If you are wanting to buy the books, I have the links in the description below. And please in the comments tell me, what are you doing to get in the Halloween spirit? Are you reading certain books? Are you writing a certain way? Let me know. Thank you.